Hi, my name is Tasha Parikh, and I will be rebutting Debate 5, Side A. Despite some setbacks, the United Nations continues to be an effective world tool to combat political violence and protect human rights across the world. I will argue that the UN is no longer an effective tool in achieving the goals of combating political violence and protecting human rights, and needs to be reformed in order to maintain the integrity of its purpose and become more useful to international communities. The UN has a long history that dates back to 1945, following the end of World War II, when it was created as a tool to help bring international peace and to help rebuild communities that were affected by the war. Since its inception, it has become a huge source of international policy change and has tremendous effects on global relations, as well as specific regional and local governments and agencies. Because of its huge role and important branches that include the World Bank, the WHO, UNESCO, UNICEF, and the International Court of Justice, the UN plays a large role in deciding international policy goals and can shape how communities are affected by the distribution of resources, as we see through their recently adopted Sustainable Development Goals, and how those are carried out. One of the primary criticisms of the UN is that there are only 5 permanent members of the Security Council. These nations hold veto power and are able to affect the decisions made by the Security Council in ways that are advantageous to their own interests, regardless of the outcomes and the potential harm to other nations and people. In this way, the UN becomes a partial body that does not equally provide aid and does not equally support communities across the world based on their need. Although it could be argued that the UN was never an impartial body, as it was created and supported mainly by powerful Western nations. The use of reform to make the UN more equitable and useful to more communities internationally will go far in helping them achieve their goals of protecting human rights and combating political violence. The Security Council's lack of impartiality and blatant disregard for human rights abuses, when they occur in areas that are allies to the permanent members, greatly weakens the credibility of the entire body and does not support the UN Charter goals. One of the relevant cases that has been brought to the attention of the UN is the abuses against Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar and China. The abuses include rape, torture, unlawful imprisonment, and forced sterilization. The combination of these abuses can be categorized as genocide. Despite these cases being brought before the Security Council and the International Court of Justice, the atrocities have continued. The lack of partiality on the Security Council and the obvious pull that some nations have on the Security Council agenda have allowed the UN to overlook these issues and not give them the credence they require. In turn, many more people will be negatively affected by this genocide and will not be protected by the explicit role that the UN is supposed to serve. Although the UN plays other important and beneficial roles in terms of aid internationally, it will never reach its potential until it undergoes reform to make it more truly global. Another criticism of the UN is its increasing budget. Although the UN needs a sizable budget in order to achieve the new 17 goals set forth in the SDGs and provide support for their volunteers and workers and continued work internationally, it is important to note that the UN budget has increased considerably since its inception. This is not inherently problematic, as it is necessary that the UN scale up due to need as population increases. However, combined with the issue that the UN is not an impartial body and is routinely affected by the personal political agendas of powerful nations within the UN, it can be reasonably argued that funds may not always be distributed evenly to the areas with the most need. This is a hard issue to handle, as the individuals that understand the nuances of the UN budget and how it is formed and used work for the UN and are unable to critically see how the resources might be sorted in a more impartial system. To move forward, calling for greater transparency and accountability from the UN will necessitate involving more nations in leading roles in the UN, to ensure that individual political agendas are being checked, and not allowing for the unequal distribution of resources. The UN needs to undergo systemic reform in order to serve its role in preventing political violence and protecting human rights moving forward. Thank you.